In the heart of the Mursi village, an ancient tree loomed large, its gnarled branches clawing at the sky. It was no ordinary tree, its roots stretched deep, entwining with the bones of the ancestors. The villagers believed the spirits of their forebears dwelled within its bark, protecting and punishing as needed. No one dared harm the tree. Children were taught from birth to revere it. Elders told stories of those who had broken the taboo and met grisly fates. But desperation makes even the boldest fear seem conquerable. The dry season was harsh that year. Rivers turned to trickles, crops withered to dust, and firewood became scarce. Hunger gnawed at the village. Gaira, a proud but desperate father of 3, gazed at the massive tree one morning, sweat dripping from his brow. His children's hollow eyes pleaded silently for food and warmth. He had tried everything. The forest was barren, and the sky showed no mercy. "Do not do this, Gaira," whispered his wife, Nara, sensing his intent. "The spirits protect us. We must find another way." "There is no other way," Gaira replied, his voice low but resolute. The children shiver. "If I do nothing, they will perish. What use are the spirits if they cannot save their own?" His words cut the air like a dagger. Gaira's grip tightened around his axe as he approached the tree. With each step, the wind picked up, hissing through the grass like a chorus of ghostly warnings. Villagers watched from their doorways, their eyes wide with dread, too afraid to intervene. Gaira paused at the base of the tree, its bark rough and ancient beneath his trembling hand. He drew a deep breath, raising his axe high. For a moment, time seemed to hold its breath, then, with one swift stroke, he severed a branch. The crack reverberated like a thunderclap, and an eerie silence fell over the village. That night, Gaira's home was dark. No firewood burned, instead, an unnatural cold crept in. He awoke to searing pain in his chest. His skin was hot, but his bones felt frozen. Nara lit a small flame and gasped in horror. Dark green veins pulsed beneath his skin, writhing as if alive. "The spirits are angry," she cried, clutching her children tightly. "We must beg for forgiveness." But Gaira would hear none of it. He refused to believe in tales of wrathful ancestors. He wrapped himself in blankets and tried to sleep, but the pain worsened. By dawn, strange symbols, knots and whorls resembling the tree's bark, had etched themselves onto his chest. The elders came, solemn and fearful, and declared what everyone had suspected: Gaira was cursed. "You must return what you took, Gaira," intoned the chief elder, eyes filled with pity and dread. "Only then can you hope for mercy." With every breath, Gaira's body stiffened, his movements slow and heavy. It felt as if the tree's roots were binding him from within. Determined, he gathered the severed branch and made his way back to the tree. Villagers lined his path, whispering prayers. Some wept for him, others avoided his gaze. As he neared the ancestral tree, a chill wind whipped through the village, howling like 100 mournful spirits. Gaira dug into the earth, sweat pouring from his brow despite the cold. He planted the branch, praying aloud for forgiveness. But the ground rejected it, expelling dirt and debris. A low rumble shook the village, and from the depths of the earth, a deep, anguished wail erupted. The tree's roots writhed like serpents, bursting through the ground. Gaira stumbled back, fear clawing at his throat. The branch twisted and splintered, spraying sap that smelled of decay. He tried to speak, to plead, but his voice caught. The roots coiled around him, dragging him toward the tree. "No. Please," he screamed, thrashing against the unyielding grip. The villagers watched, powerless and paralyzed with terror. The roots lifted Gaira off the ground. His body contorted, bones cracking as if being reshaped. He felt the rough bark pressing into his flesh, and then, horrifyingly, he began to merge with it. His skin cracked open, sap oozing from the wounds. The symbols on his chest glowed fiercely, burning with the heat of 1,000 suns. His last scream echoed through the air as his face was swallowed by bark, leaving only the faint outline of his anguished features on the trunk. The tree fell silent, its branches motionless once more. The wind died down. For a moment there was hope, perhaps the spirits were appeased. But then, the tree's bark split open, revealing a new face, Gaira's face, twisted in eternal torment. His eyes, though lifeless, seemed to follow anyone who dared approach. In the days that followed, strange things happened in the village. Children heard whispers at night, hollow, sorrowful voices that begged for warmth. The ground around the tree grew cold, killing any plant that tried to sprout. Those who touched the tree reported nightmares of being trapped underground, suffocating in roots. One night, Nara awoke to the sound of knocking, a slow, rhythmic thump that came from the direction of the tree. She crept outside, clutching a knife. There, in the moonlight, she saw it, the branch Gaira had cut lay on the ground, its wood splintered and gnarled. It pulsed as though it had veins. The knocking grew louder. The face on the tree twisted, and from the corner of its wooden lips came a rasping whisper, "The hunger never ends. The curse spreads." Nara ran, but the knocking echoed in her ears long after she returned to her hut. Villagers tried to destroy the tree with fire, axes, then prayer, but nothing worked. In the end, they left the village, abandoning it to the cursed tree and its prisoner. Generations later, travelers stumbled upon the forgotten village and the massive tree with the face of a man. They spoke of hearing whispers in the wind and feeling roots shifting beneath the ground. Those brave or foolish enough to stay overnight never returned. And the legend of the cursed ancestral tree lived on, growing darker with each telling. Beware, for if you hear the knocking in the dead of night, the spirits may be watching, waiting to claim another soul.